Hi, this is Dick. Hi, Dick.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Dick came into the office in around the first week of November of last year, and it's now been about 11 weeks. And Dick has been under care for cognitive decline and and a couple other problems. Dick, do you want to just share what prompted you to come in and how much of a struggle you were having at the time?
Oh, sure. It was really bad. It had been a progression over a few years, and I moved to Minnesota just 4 or 5 months prior to coming in here, and there was a little bit of, not a lot of stress on the move, but I moved here to be closer to family, so the reasons were good. But I took a different job. My lifetime had been kind of in management, but I wanted to steer away from the stress of that type of work, so I took some different type of jobs, something where I wouldn't have a whole lot of stress and responsibility. But I started to notice a lot of struggle, things that I thought, why am I struggling doing something that I think is fairly simple to do, just data entry and that type of thing. But I was really struggling. I couldn't seem to grasp and remember anything. I would scan items and I couldn't recall what the numbers were, and I'd have to go back and reflect to the sheet again countless times. And it was quite frankly embarrassing. But I started to become concerned about losing my job. So I knew I had to do something, and it had kind of been the second transition job I had, and I noticed the first one, same type of thing. So I knew, okay, there's something serious about this. So my first day in town, the 4 months prior, I had was given a tour by my son-in-law, and I looked over and I saw this sign on a building, and it said Center for Natural Medicine. I thought, that's interesting, because I've had a lifetime. I had to start with this type of care, chiropractic care, when I was a teenager. I grew up very fast growing, so I had a lot of aches and pains. So I thought I'm gonna check that out later. Well, when I got into that position and I was struggling so much and I was now fearful of losing my job, I decided to come in. So
So how bad, I mean, if you had to rate the severity of your memory decline, how severe was it, scale 0 to 100? Where would you say you were functioning
oh,
at?
that was pretty easy. I'd say I was down around 25%. There's no doubt in my mind it was that bad.
Okay. And so the biggest areas of struggle were just the data processing, remembering to do the different steps necessary to complete the job in a correct fashion. Is
Yeah,
that kind of the types
that's
of
it. And just in conversations, not being able to do simple recall, and it wasn't quick, as witted as I had been before. I definitely noticed a difference. And it's interesting because when I brought this up to a sibling of mine on a phone call, he had mentioned to me prior to my improvement, he had mentioned that he had noticed it just on a phone call. So
interesting?
that was interesting.
So we did lab work. We did a complete workup, history exam. We did
Yeah.
a neurological examination, and then we did lab work. One of the interesting things that we found with Dick was is that we did the peanut butter smell test, and we checked different things. And how'd you do on that?
Failed miserably.
Couldn't smell anything.
Couldn't. I had no clue.
Yeah.
None.
So when there's inflammation in the brain, one of the parts of the brain that are affected is the areas of olfactory function, which is smell. And so as the brain declines, smell declines. And Dick was unable to smell anything. We had used coffee, we used peanut butter, and he couldn't smell anything. So we did food testing, we did blood chemistry testing. I asked you to change your diet. We did all kinds of things. You've been at it now for about 11 weeks. How hard has that been, Dick?
Well, it's a challenge because the plan. Well, I loved about the plan, and the reason I was so motivated about the plan because it was based on my direct blood and urine results. So I liked that. It wasn't just a general plan that anybody can try because I do believe that everyone's going to have some differences. So I was determined based on that, and then just the smell, just the thorough examination that I got. I was very impressed by that. It was very thorough. It was interesting. So I was a, so it didn't take me long to say, okay, I'm on board. I'm going to do my part now. My part meant that I had to be diligent and I had to be very disciplined, more so than I've been in a while. Been difficult to be disciplined with my cognitive failure, but I was determined to do it. So it has been difficult, but I think the difficult, just different, trying different foods and being limited to those foods and learning how to cook them. But, you know, I also figured that it would be easy to stay on as far as maintaining my weight, because I looked at it and I thought I could probably lose weight on this, and I did. I had already lost some weight, but I lost 12 pounds that I didn't expect to lose. But I would say it was difficult for the first couple of weeks, but if you can get past the 2 weeks, you're going to see results like I did. The first thing that I saw, it was in 5 days. I did the smell test, and I noticed that I could smell the peanut butter and oregano. I could smell those, and I had no idea before. So that was 5 days, and I emailed you guys saying,
Yes.
I got a win.
Yes.
And then the other one was, I think I wasn't very far in, 2 weeks, and scanning at work. It was during the holidays, so we had a lot of items that I had to rescan. All I had to do is remember one letter and 6 digits. You would think that's kind of easy when you're remembering it, and then you're going to write it on a product label. Well, I struggled with that prior, probably 20, 25 times. I'd always have to go back and look again. Couldn't remember it. And now first 2 times that morning, I had to do probably 10 or 12 of those. And the first 2, I actually remembered. I didn't have to go look. By the third one, I remembered the number and just kept writing it down. I would never have been able to do that. And that, I emailed you guys on that one too.
Yes.
Significant.
So that's awesome. It's interesting. What was the big thing we found when we did the wheat zoomer test?
It was,
How were you on your wheat reactivity?
I had a severe gluten, severe, and you called it severe, and well, of course, then I kind of felt guilty because I had a test done, as I mentioned it to Dr. Joe. I had a test done years ago at a chiropractor, and he said, you have a mild gluten tolerance. Well, honestly, I didn't take it that seriously. Well, it grew into a severe one. So yes, and it's affected a lot of things, and I think back of all the issues that it's caused, they've been pretty severe, and so it's done its damage. So my recommendation would be, if you have a severe gluten allergy, take it seriously. And I
Yes.
didn't.
Yes. Dick, do you have any advice for future patients? Well, just to go back, what level of improvement would you say you've had, excuse me, over the past 11 weeks?
Well, my brain function was probably 25%. I'm at least at 50, at least, if not more. There's no question about it. I notice it in the recall, interacting with people, being a little quicker in my responses and such. So yeah, I definitely see it. It's only been 11 weeks. So
That's awesome.
it's not long.
Do you have any advice for future patients?
My advice would be to take the test seriously. I mean, you get those results, and that's an individualized test. That in of itself is pretty important, I believe. But to give it some serious thought, especially if you have a gluten allergy like I have, to definitely listen to Dr. Joe. He knows what he's talking about. Root cause is where I wanted to go. I've dealt with doing the Band-Aid approach 3 years, or maybe even, I've probably even done some rehabilitative, but I decided to go the step further this time, because I saw the decline where I was headed. I had a mother who suffered with dementia and a brother who's 2 years older than me, and I saw with him, he had to leave work early, and he's not doing well. So that's all the motivation I needed.
Great story. Dick's just getting started. We believe he can be close to normal by the time he finishes his process. And the interesting thing is, just because of excuse me, your work schedule, we've only been seeing you about once a week,
Yeah.
and typically it would be more intense than that. But even at the once a week process, you've had a 25% change. So I'm highly encouraged by that.
Me too.
Dick, do I have your permission to share your story with doctors, students, patients, anywhere?
Absolutely.
Any restrictions on that?
Not at all.
Thank you so much for taking your time. Keep up the hard work. Great job.
You're welcome.
Thank you.